Hello and welcome to Giants Spotlight. Thank you for listening wherever you get your podcast. Today we are going to talk about the Giants. They lose the series against the Diamondbacks, and now they're at 500 again. Giants top prospect Marco Luciano was in the River Cats lineup today, but was scratched from the lineup and not due to injury, so people are thinking he's going to be called up soon. And in the meanwhile, Harrison gets called up again and comes back into the rotation for the Giants. This team is in an emergency situation, and we're going to get to all of that in just 1 second. But first, if you haven't noticed, we have the first video edition of the podcast, and we are recording that right now. And I would like to say that you should definitely check that out. So there's going to be a YouTube link in the description of wherever you get your Giant Spotlight podcast, wherever you get it, whether it's Apple or Spotify. In the description, there will be the YouTube link to take you to the homepage where you can find all of the videos. And that's where you get to see a lot of video. You're going to get to see clips that we will get to view outside of the podcast format. So if you want to check that out, I definitely recommend tapping that link that is going to be in the description of the Giant Spotlight podcast. But anyways, we got to get right into business because one, they lost the Diamondbacks and they lost both games. And it's looking bad because now the team is back at 500. They're back to where they were last year, where they ended the year last year. In 2022, they ended the year 81-81. The first time in Giants franchise history that has ever been ended at that point. And it's weird because, you think a team with so much history, such a long span of time that the franchise has been alive, that they would have ended at 500 at one point or another in the year. But guess what? That has not happened. And you come to see that, it just happened the last year after a really good year in 2021 where they won a franchise record of 107 games. And a lot of people can look at that. And I definitely had looked at that and said, I think that's where this team is capable of being. But just now that I'm looking at it more and more, it's just not the case and it's not true because we're going to get down to the real truth here. And they're back to 500 after losing to the D-backs today, 7-1. And I'm going to pull that up right now. I'm just going to say it right now. They lost 7-1. They got out-hit tremendously. They got out-hit 14 hits to 3. Not a good sight if you are Gabe Kapler right now, especially considering that you were just in playoff race. And the playoff odds for the Giants are dwindling down to nothing. They have not been eliminated from playoff contention yet, like other teams such as the White Sox, the A's, the Royals, those types of teams, right? Or the Rockies. But, let's be honest here. The Giants, they're back at 500 again, and I don't think that's what we were expecting. I think we were expecting a few, at least some games above 500. I came to the prediction, and I was being very generous at the beginning of the year. I came to the prediction of like 91 wins, which I know maybe I'm just delusional. But either way, I don't feel like this team is a 500 team, at least. And I feel like some of the players have the potential to do greater things, but right now it's just not what we're seeing. And there's injuries that are kind of now coming back. We had injuries earlier in the year, which had kind of prevented us from a lot of our real ability and potential. But now that they're kind of coming back, it's noticeable that maybe that this team isn't built for what we thought it was. And as we're seeing, we talked about at the beginning of the year how the team's strength is going to be the starting pitching. That dwindled down to pretty much nothing but 2 starting pitchers, and that was about it. It was Logan Webb and Alex Cobb leading the way. And then all the other games were bullpen games or bulk reliever, I don't know, however you want to call it. And it was working for a period of time. It's kind of what led them to that really good win streak in June, kind of mid-July, until they kind of started to taper off from there. And it just didn't look as great. It kind of looked dire. And it's still looking that way. The team is not in a good spot, and Logan Webb got another loss. Little run support for Webb once again. It's just, it's very, very tough to watch. They got 1 run in the very beginning off of a leadoff home run from Lamont Wade, and after that, nothing happened. Merrill Kelly pitched an excellent game. He has tormented this team, and it has been hard to watch. Merrill Kelly, he's had a great year this year with the Diamondbacks, and he's really helping them to a potential postseason run, and he has really, he's kind of kicked us out of this postseason run. We're not completely kicked out yet, but it's not looking great. And there's a lot of questions behind what's going on. And, I feel like the Giants might be getting desperate out here for certain things. Luciano, he was scratched from the lineup, the River Cats lineup, before the game had even happened, and they replaced him with Casey Schmidt at shortstop. So it looks like Luciano is probably going to get the September call-up due to the extra roster spots, but also due to the fact that Brandon Crawford, I think, just went on the injured list because he came out of the game with right hamstring tightness, and he will probably be put on the injured list, which is why they took Luciano out so they could prepare and put him in. I mean, I don't. It's not really for a September call up, but you could think of it like that, just considering the situation we're in right now. And you also have the fact that Alex Cobb is on the 15-day IL, so there's a starter gone. But they did bring back another starter, Kyle Harrison, and they brought up Sean Jelly with him from AAA. And Keaton Wynn, he had been placed on the 7-day IL because he had COVID. I mean, and if COVID gets to the other guys, it's just going to spread. It's not, it is just not going well for this team. And that kind of begs the question of what's next for the team. I mean, I'm already looking at what's next, and I'm kind of questioning that. And I think a lot of people are, because I think a lot of people aren't seeing a lot of hope for this season here right now. The hitting is not on. Pitching, giving up more runs than needed. It's just, none of it's coming together right now. I can't even tell you that it's one thing or the other. It's not just hitting. It's not just pitching. It is all of it. And it's even managerial decisions like we discussed yesterday. So there's multiple aspects to it right now. I think the main thing is, we're going to look at the future here, because this is an important thing that I think we should take a look at. You know, the team, like I said, it's an emergency situation. You were in a spot where you had a playoff opportunity, and now you've been kicked out of that playoff opportunity. You still have a chance to possibly make it back in, but chances are slim. So if you want to make it back in, you either don't make it this year and you focus on next year, or you really try everything you possibly can and try to take out the things that aren't working. I mean, don't put in a matchup, right? This is what I'm thinking of. Is Gabe Kapler has done this recently where he wants to play the matchups. It's the game that both Farhan and Kapler have been playing. It has been the numbers game and the matchups game. So when it comes to the matchups, the pitching, you're going to throw in a left-handed reliever against a left-handed bat to get the matchup that you want, because the splits are going to be different. The average for the left-handed hitter against the left-handed pitcher is going to be lower than the left-handed hitter against a right-handed pitcher. But here's the thing, is sometimes you're going to throw in that left-handed pitcher, and let's just say it's one of the Alex Cobbs of the world, or not Alex Cobbs, Alex Woods of the world, and, higher ERA, and you're putting him in, and you're expecting the same production value that instead of you're expecting the same production value other than just leaving Tyler Rogers in, who has a lower ERA and has had a better year than Alex Wood altogether. But you're going to play the matchup and you're throwing in Alex Wood, and here we go. We've just given up 2 runs, and now the lead is extended. So it's things like that. That's been the problem. But that's kind of a side note from where I was trying to get with this anyways. I was going to discuss the upcoming 2024 Giants free agents. So we're going to head into the 2024 offseason pretty soon, and that is going to beg a lot of questions. Like, what is the team going to do? Are they going to spend the money for Ohtani, which we'll get at on a different day because I have a whole opinion on that. I mean, Mets are open to trading Alonso. Is that an option for the Giants? I mean, what's going on, right? Like, what's going to happen? But I think we need to talk about our own players first, because we have a lot of players who are going to be going in the free agency this year. One of the most notable ones I would say is Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson was extended the qualifying offer at the beginning of the 2022 season, which people didn't think that the Giants were going to extend, because it was more money that he probably would have made by just going in the free agency and getting a contract. It was more money, but it was guaranteed money. So they extended it to keep him on the team. And I will be honest, I love Jock Peterson. He is a great clubhouse presence. He really is. And I would love to keep him on the team for longer for those reasons. Michael Conforto. So Michael Conforto has a player option. And so right now it's unknown whether he's going to hit the free agent market or not. If he decides to hit the free agent market, it means he's going to opt out of the player option and he's just going to hit free agency. But here's the thing, is he hasn't had the best year here with the Giants to showcase what he's got. He's had previous years where he's been a lot better, but with this recent year, he's not going to get the higher pay that you might expect him to get from, the free agent market. But here's the thing, his agent is Scott Boras, and he's known for trying to milk some deals, and he's known for getting his clients some massive deals. I mean, we talked about it with Carlos Correa specifically. He's the same agent for Correa. So Conforto might opt out just to get that kind of big contract. You never know. Brandon Crawford will be a free agent, but the thing is with Brandon Crawford is it's not looking like the Giants are going to be trying to re-sign him with his performance in his later years. He had a great year in 2021 where he was top 4 for MVP. He was in the 4th spot, but you aren't getting that same production that you got from Brandon Crawford in 2021. It's just not happening. So the thing we got to discuss is what's going to happen now, because it doesn't look like they're going to try to extend him for a longer contract. They need to, probably clear that spot so you can have people like Luciano come up and have those top prospects come up and play in that position. I think the main thing to note here is that he is probably, in my opinion, I think he will retire at the end of this year if they aren't going to extend him any offer, which I don't think they will. So I do think retirement is the only option for him unless he does end up going to another team, which would be sad to see. I would like to see him retire as a Giant, but who knows right now. And another person, Ross Stripling, and he has a player option as well. That's the thing is there's a few of these guys on this list that have a player option, and specifically Ross Stripling, he has a player option, and I am not sure what's going to happen with that. He has not had a good year. He had a great year in 2022 with the Toronto Blue Jays where he posted a 3 ERA and had pretty good numbers, but with the Giants this year, it's just not happened. It just hasn't happened that way, and he's given up home runs at an enormous rate, and his ERA has skyrocketed. And, I think he's said in interviews as of recently, there's been a few articles I've seen that he's most likely going to opt into that player option to stay with the Giants another year. So I think that's my prediction for what's going to happen, but he could hit the free agent market. You never know. I do think he will take that player option, though, because that is the smart move for him. I don't think he'll get paid a lot outside of that guaranteed money by the Giants because of his recent performance, but you never know. Sean Manaea also has a player option, and he is with the Giants right now, and I think that's another option that the player is going to have to opt into because he won't get as much money from a free agent signing that, he would probably get outside of this option deal. And then you have people like Alex Wood, who's just going to be a straight free agent at the end of this year. You have Alex Cobb, who's going to be a free agent at the end of this year as well. And that's a piece that you got to discuss. The reason I kind of skipped over Alex Wood is because I'm not sure what his role would be with the Giants anymore. It doesn't seem like he starts, and he plays a bulk inning reliever role that he's just not been excellent in this year, and I don't see his time with the Giants extending any further. I do, however, I could see Alex Cobb coming back. Alex Cobb is older. I think he's 36 right now, and he's an older guy. But maybe the Giants think they could get 1 or 2 more years of good production out of him, and he's been a really good worker for the Giants, for the rotation. Maybe not in these past couple of games. He's given up a lot of hits, but he did have his first All-Star appearance this year, and the grind for him has been significant. Alex Cobb has just done phenomenal, but I really would like to see him come back if he is able to give production, even though he is going up in age. It's going to be a decision for the front office for sure. Jacob Junis is another guy who is going to be a free agent, so you already noticing it's probably a lot of pitchers. It's a lot of pitchers that just don't have unsure like destinies. You don't know what's going to happen at the end of this year. The Giants could bring him back, but you might question that some of these guys, they don't need to be brought back. Some of these guys shouldn't be brought back, and some of the guys should be brought back. So honestly, it is a completely different game. Roberto Perez, that's an interesting one because he got injured like beginning of the year, and he's just going to be a free agent. Giants are going to let him walk, just to be honest. It's just like he was injured at the beginning of the year. I didn't even remember the name until I saw the list. So, this guy has been irrelevant in my mind recently. You have John Brebbia. I think John Brebbia, he's going on 33. He's 33 right now, and he's a good reliever. He's been an excellent reliever for the Giants. He's had his moments. He's had his struggles, but I think that's a guy that they might look to bring back. You have Paul DeJong, who is going to be a free agent. He was kind of brought in to help the shortstop depth that the Giants had struggled with for a little bit, just to add another piece. And then you have, who is that? Joe Ross? Okay, well, apparently I don't know some of the people on the Giants, and apparently this guy came out of nowhere. I do not know who this dude is, so let him walk. But either way, that's what's going on for the Giants. I think that's the future that you're going to see is a lot of those players are in question for free agency, and the Giants are going to have to make a decision. Farhan is going to have to make the right decision when it comes to those guys. I think there are certain ones that you need to let walk because you aren't seeing the production from them. You're getting to a situation here where you've got 1 year left on the Gabe Kapler contract, and you're kind of a package deal with him. And I think you got to make it work this next year. And if you're going to make it work, you got to bring back the guys who you believe in and let go of the guys who you don't think are going to be a good asset to the team. And that just goes for any good sports team ever. It's just how it's probably going to be. And I think there are certain people who have player options on here. I'd say Ross Stripling and Sean Manaea that you probably would want to see maybe even walk and let them go. But they do have that player option, so that is not a choice for them. But anyways, thank you for listening to Giant Spotlight wherever you get your podcast. And you know what? Thank you. If you are watching the video version of this, I really appreciate you. And we will do more extra things on this video version just to let all of the podcast listeners know. There will be more things done on the video side of this. There will be extra weekend things, such as on Saturday, we're probably going to be going through a little bit more extra free agency. I'm going to give my take on Shohei Ohtani on Saturday on YouTube exclusively. So if you want that, then I would definitely check that out. But thank you for listening.